Conversations from the front lines of the talent supply chain. This is Hireside Chats. Join us as we delve into the world of talent acquisition and explore the latest trends, challenges, opportunities, strategies, and insights from the best in the business. Get inspired by industry pioneers and seasoned veterans and discover the secrets to building powerful talent functions from their experiences. Whether you're a CEO, a seasoned HR professional, a growing business looking to scale, or someone just starting in the field, there's something for everyone. Ready for the ultimate recruitment power-up? Let's go.
Welcome to this episode of Hireside Chats, where we discuss one of the most pressing topics in today's workplaces: balancing work and wellness. In light of the recent revelations about the harsh effects of workplace burnout, work stress, conversations around mental health have taken a center stage. It's baffling to know that nearly 77% of professionals report burnout at workplaces, and over 50% are attributing it to increased workloads. It seems to be clear that supporting employee well-being is no longer just an HR job, but it's a critical necessity for corporates and organizations to take up as a very important topic. Very happy to welcome our guest today, Vamshi Vasudevan, the founder of Anyo, a mental health and emotional wellness mobile app. Vamshi has turned our journey of self discovery into a mission to transform mental health practices. Welcome, Vamshi. Thank you very much for your time today.
Hi Satish, thank you for inviting me. Happy to be on your show. I'm looking forward to discussing wellness and mental wellness in particular.
Great. So, as we unpack the rise in workplace stresses, we'll explore how organizations can foster environments that support well being. And Vamshi, with her experience in dealing with such incidents, people who report such incidents, I'm sure you have a lot of inputs to share with us. And what we realize, Vamsi, is no longer is it enough if you just conduct these odd yoga sessions at the workplaces and just celebrate one mental health day. It's not going to be enough. It's a fairly long process which involves commitment from everybody in the organization to make the workplace truly stress free. So, I'm really looking forward to this insightful conversation with you. And let's start off. If you can share with us your journey, how did you go about creating, and of course, any mobile app is always exciting to hear about. So, we'd love to hear that story.
Sure, Satish. Thank you. I come from a corporate or a investment banking world. I did 7 years of investment banking with Goldman Sachs and Barclays, and I did 5 years of lending with a lending company in Chennai, which was a startup then called Vivrithi Capital. I was the chief credit officer there. So, with 13 years of banking background, I've seen stress firsthand, right? That's where 6 days work week, pressure on month ends, collections, regulations, every part of the organization goes through stress day in and day out. So that's where I spent most of my initial days and good 13 years. So for me to create impact meant to do something more in the wellness space. I thought I can make a difference to people's lives if I was in the wellness space. And I also thought technology is not as used in the wellness space as compared to say something like a lending space, right? So that's where I thought I could make a difference. In my personal context, I had extensively benefited from having a coach. For me to be able to talk to somebody about what you're going through without being judged was a great thing. And most of the times it was not about the responses that the person gave me. It was about being able to share your vulnerable or my vulnerable moments with a person. So I really felt impacted whenever I had a conversation with my coach, and therefore when I was thinking about starting up, I wanted to do something very similar. And therefore, we chose the name Anyo. It's inspired from the Sanskrit word Anyonya, which means being there for the other person. So, we wanted to create an ecosystem where people can lean on and support each other. The term mental wellness came much later, right? So, we still call ourselves a support system, and therefore, being there for the other person is our mission.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Off late, we've been reading a lot of literature about workplace stresses, burnouts, and so on. How do you think employees and organizations should protect themselves from this high pressure environment, and what steps should they as well as organizations take to ensure that we are able to manage these high stresses in the workplaces? Because obviously it seems like in today's fast paced world, not being stressed is not going to happen. So some ideas inputs will definitely help.
Sure. Just on the lighter side, I run a mental wellness company and we are stressed too. So, people in any job experience stress, and of course, there's real competition. There's somebody who's probably better than you to do the job, and you're there, and therefore you have to do it at your best. So, all of us go through significant competitions, questions, dilemmas, maybe doubts as well, right? Which makes us want to be there and do despite what we are going through internally. I think awareness of tuning inwards, whichever practice you choose to follow, is important. Earlier it was called prayer. Now we moved away from it. It can be journaling, it can be affirmation, any wellness practice that helps us tune inward, where we really know what we're seeking for. And therefore, though we are running, we are clear about the purpose and why we are running, makes it a little better for the newer ones joining the companies, right? Across most of them, we hear issues around not wanting to communicate, afraid if they will lose out just because they communicate what they think. Also, particularly for women, finding it difficult to being assertive are issues that we see, right? As a company that works in emotional wellness space or mental wellness space, what we keep doing is to just pump up the self esteem of a person and teach them to communicate. So if they are able to stand up for themselves and tell what they think, as long as they feel they're right, it is okay. And I think it's for the employees, employers, and the managers to create that environment of trust where people can openly talk about what they feel and asking for help, right? So that's something that people these days generally avoid. They probably post on Instagram and they will not talk about it in their office. So if you're able to seek out for help, build that kind of community, it can be a peer set, it can be a mentor. All of us had mentors then. I don't know how many of the employees today think about having mentors. I think having anchors in and out of workplace is very important to identify what we need out of work and what we need out of ourselves.
Got it. So, in your opinion, what makes a mentally healthy workplace? Again, from an organization standpoint, and what are some of the practical steps that organizations can take to create a mentally healthy workplace? And, what will also help, Vamsi, is if you can share examples without naming companies, of course. You can share examples of what would typically mean. I mean, these days we have great places to work, certifications, and so on, right? So, are there certifications that certify an organization to be a mentally healthy workplace?
Sure. See, what according to me makes a good workplace is a workplace where people trust each other. I think that's the bond that's broken. When I speak
Hmm.
to HRs and talk about mental wellness, so there's a real age gap, right? Like I work for 12 hours, 6 days a week, and I'm so trained to doing that I feel it's okay. While that population that's joining workforce today has seen a lot of different things. They've seen COVID happen, they've seen wellness taking a beating, they've seen people around them really die. And they have also seen companies letting go of people left, right, and center because, companies were not able to keep so many employees. So, somewhere deep inside them, they feel that when things go wrong, they're just going to be by themselves. And why should they go the extra mile?
Right.
So I see this constant imbalance between the ones driving the teams and the ones joining the teams, and that trust is what I think has to be built. When we go and talk to companies, we're only trying to create the bridge. So we can be a bridge where we are talking to people, hearing them out, and then saying improve these factors so that your company gets better. Conscious effort by the managers or by the senior management to build that place of trust, I think, is important. While we may all have our own styles of working and hours of work, etc., I think being a little more open to what new things or the different styles of work is again becoming very, very important. Like I said, I come to office by 9 a.m. because banking world expects that kind of login, and I'm so used to it. When I see people walking in at 11, it is difficult. I wouldn't say it's easy. I also have doubts about how much they will be able to do. Is 5 hours enough? 6 hours enough? Etc. These are challenges that we go through as managers, but I think somewhere we'll have to understand that the world is changing
Changing.
and we have to get better with being open to different styles of work. So for me, trust is the primary factor, and I feel it is broken across organizations. Anyo or any other wellness player can be a bridge as long as we're able to communicate to the company on the overall issues without having to disclose identity of anybody. So that's again trust for the system, right? So tell the company what is going wrong so that they can fix it. In terms of examples, I've seen two examples. One in which HR really thinks that I can't do much in this company. Whenever people have issues, they will post on Instagram. They will not come and tell me. So if you're in that mindset that nothing is going to change, this is how the newer workforce is, and there's a problem with them, and this is how I'm going to be. Versus a workplace where the HRs are okay listening to them, right? So they want people to take the app there. People have a hesitancy to use a product if they think the data is going to go to the HR, right? So there's a lot of effort in communicating that we're doing this for your benefit. Use it. We don't want to track you. It's not to track what your problems are, but it is to address it more meaningfully. So when HRs or company take that effort and build that kind of trust, we see great success with the product, and I think that makes the difference.
So thanks for that, and I think the point you raise about trust is bang on. Maybe it's a good time for you to talk a little bit about the product, Vamsi. Our listeners would love to know what Anyo does and how can
Sure.
organizations benefit by using the product.
Thank you, Satish. So, Anyo, like I said, is inspired from the Sanskrit word anyonya, which means being there for the other person. We want to create a support system that will help people for all their day to day wellness needs. So, sleep, stress, nutrition, and emotional well being. And we see all this connected, right? Somebody doesn't sleep well, it directly impacts their emotions and performance, or the other way. They haven't had a great day, it impacts their sleep. Food, the most abused thing whenever you're not great, or the other way around, right? So we don't know how to handle food, and that's like our go-to behavior whenever we want to cope, and that results in a lot more problems than we usually think. So nutrition, sleep, of course, stress, on how we can handle stress better, and emotional intelligence is what we do. We want to keep the platform more engaging. We want to ensure that people come and open up. So we do daily lives. We have circles, which is a community where people come and post, and we have our own experts posting in the community on daily basis with tips and suggestions on what people can do. The most attractive feature for many of our users is our venting platform. We have it open from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. in the night. It's a no name platform, almost works like a church confession model where you can just come and talk about whatever you feel like, right? We've had people telling us that they felt bad because there was a cat on the road which was starving and they couldn't help, to people talking about real issues that they're facing with regards to their relationship, etc., etc. So venting platform as an idea has seen a lot of traction, and we have connect with therapists and packages which was a little more holistic. Somebody coming with anxiety, we think doing more than psychology usually helps. We have psychologists who directly talk to them. They always have difficult sleep patterns, they always have difficult food habits, and if you're able to address anxiety as a package, right, with emotions, sleep, and nutrition in one go, then the recovery rate is much faster. So that's what we try to do. We try to provide holistic solutions by combining experts across various fields, right? So
Okay. And this is largely a B2B kind of a platform right now, or it's a B2C where I can just download the app from
yeah, you can download and use the app from App Store and Play Store. We are distributing through the corporate channels because it's easier for employees to use when it's free.
the reach?
Yeah.
Okay, got it, understood. Okay, lovely. Can you share us some common themes that get discussed in these therapy rooms? I've heard about the therapy rooms and as a place to discuss your workplace stresses
Sure.
and your wellness. So, can you throw some light on what these rooms are and
Yeah.
how do you go about solving problems?
Sure. I'll give you a few examples. Right. First is burnout. I've seen cases. So the symptoms of burnout probably is picked up much later, right? So what results in burnout, or the common behavior that we see causing burnout, is this thought process that this is for the next 2 months, 3 months. I'm into a project. I will finish this and things will get better. I don't have to talk now. I will talk about it a little later. So you postpone communication. You want to do it for some more time and see if things change. And if really things don't change beyond the timeline that you're expecting, then people go through burnout. most often than not, things don't change because the other person has never got the signal from you that you're tired. People on the other side think that you enjoy doing it, you're okay doing it because you've never communicated, and it results in them offering more work because that's how we all work, right? If I don't tell people what I'm going through, there's very little chance that the other person will know. So that is a clear sign of burnout. We have the best performers coming and telling us that I thought it'll get better in 6 months, but that never happened, and I've been waiting for a year. So that's one common theme. Second concern that we've seen is anxiety around appraisal time, right? That's like the difficult phase. So, two things happen. One, you think you've overworked, and you think you've not been appraised well. That's a possibility. The second one is that you are unsure of what to expect from an appraisal conversation because the communication on your performance has not been consistent, right? So surprise elements, suddenly your manager tells you that you've not done well and you're not expecting that kind of results, feedback. So that again becomes a period of heavy anxiety where people feel cheated or they feel that the company has been unfair to them. So that's a period of anxiety and stress, or reasons that we have. The few cases where people are afraid of their managers, right? They're just afraid to say anything to their manager because they believe that the manager is the person who the company is going to listen to and their voice may not be heard. So the relationship with the manager and the importance they see that the manager receives in the company impacts the way they're able to talk about their issues in a company. So these are things that we commonly hear about. And see, what we can do to help all of them is first improve their self-esteem. There is, work is something that you have chosen to do, and therefore, for us to give our best at any workplace, we have to be confident about ourselves. So a lot of people forget their strengths after a few days, and especially when you go into that negative zone, you don't remember what your strengths are and why you were chosen for that work in the first place. So to be able to bring back their idea, I mean, for them to be able to think about their strengths and work towards improving on their strengths itself builds self-esteem. And once self-esteem is sort of under control, then it's about ability to communicate, right? So this is what largely happens. And in few cases it could be related to things beyond work. I may have had something that has happened to me in the past, and what's happening in my work is bringing back old memories of trauma, etc. So those are cases that have to be dealt in greater depth depending on
Got,
what is causing the issue.
got it. We spoke a lot about trust issues within organizations, and employees may also not be very open to going and raising specific issues that impact their well-being to, let's say, the HR community, for the fear of being judged or for the fear of their managers coming to know about it and so on. But if an HR organization were to ask you, how do we break this barrier, how do we build that confidence, and are there ways in which I can integrate the philosophy and the concept of mental wellness into our HR policies, what would be your recommendation? How will you go about doing something like that?
Sure. See, I think a lot depends on the leadership team, right? So we run a specific program called Train the Trainers, or Train the Managers. That's more for the leadership team to understand a lot of things about wellness and mental wellness, work styles, etc. Like I said, some of us carry a baggage of what we have done in the past, and therefore think that this is the right way. So there is a lot to be done in terms of getting the leadership team open up to a lot of new ideas. I think there is no other way out because majority in future is going to behave the way today the ones who are entering the workforce are behaving, right? That's like the style that's going to be there for the next 10 years, 15 years. It is for us to open up, and then once you open up and listen to them, maybe they'll be willing to adapt to the ideas that they propose, I mean the senior management wants to propose. So for us, it is about training the leadership team to be more open about ideas of emotional wellness. And I think somewhere people also don't believe that is real, right? Whenever I talk to the management team, the usual response that I get is, we never had such issues, we never had to go through this, it's not like we worked lesser, etc. While all of this may be true today, the reality is slightly different. to see this as a genuine concern and to be able to equip managers to address it in the first place is what every organization, according to me, has to do.
Understood. Okay, great. Now, before we wrap up, we'll get into the segment which is kind of our audience favorite, let me put it that way. Essentially, this is like a rapid fire round. And what we're looking for are short, quick, and impactful responses from your end. And so, let me start by asking you our first question. So, if you could introduce one wellness practice to every workplace, what would it be?
Gratitude journaling. So that's about writing what went well each day, and I think that makes a lot of difference. And if you find one thing that you can be happy for in a day, I think that's what we look for.
Very nice, very nice. Personally, one wellness practice you cannot live without.
Yoga.
Okay. Uh, your favorite wellness app, other than Anyo, of course.
Should I give this a pass?
Okay.
No, I can answer that. I like apps like Calm. There have been days when I've not been able to sleep, and I think the idea of diverting to something like sleep stories to sleep has always impressed me. So, yeah, Calm is an app that I like.
The unique combination of technology and wellness, is it a boon or a bane, according to you?
See, I don't find another alternative to scale, right? Technology is the best way to be able to scale. Now, the question is we are preaching people to reduce screen time. Yeah, and that's one point how people can avoid burnout despite their day to day being demanding. I think avoid trying to at least find an hour for yourself without screen time. So
Absolutely
I
fine.
think there is no other alternative to scale than to use technology. If Instagram can pull crowd with video content, can a wellness app pull crowd with video content that is around wellness, right? You're seeing wellness every day, will that benefit? So if we can use whatever has worked for wellness and make it positive reinforcement of habits, that's like a great place to be, and that's what we're trying with Anyo.
Okay. Pardon me for asking this. I'm just taking a slight detour
Go ahead.
because this question just popped up in my mind. When it comes to, different genders, do you feel that their requirement from a wellness app is different, or does Anyo cater to, all types of people, all genders as such?
See, we cater to different genders. I will stay with male and female, and for now, regards to men and women, the difference that I see is men complain more about workplace issues when they think they don't get paid well. So the usually the conversations end with I don't think I'm getting paid well despite the kind of work I am doing. Women complain less about pay but about how they treated in the organization, how they feel about their role in the organization, etc. So somewhere I was surprised by this distinction myself, but I feel that this is something that's come as a data point. I don't
Mhm.
have validation on why it happens, but this is what we see.
Okay, interesting. Your personal mantra or affirmation that you live by,
I'm a little more spiritual in that aspect. I think I'm always taken care of. That's what I tell myself, and that's what I really think about myself.
and what is your best book on mental health that you've ever read, and are there a set of books that you would like to recommend to our audience?
Book recommendations are, but I think the philosophy on psychology, right? I like Alder's Psychology, which is more about individual psychology and how everything is related to people and relationships. So that's something that I really like. And of course the Western psychologists and Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, these are books that all of us have to read, and some of this I think has to become curriculum so that we genuinely understand how the most important part of our body functions, and therefore we are able to handle it better.
Got it. So that brings me to the last question, and it's kind of related to what you just said. Is there a way we can address mental health, when people are kind of growing up? I my personal view has been that we generally start a bit late.
Yeah.
I know most of the challenges and issues start occurring when people get into the workforce and so on. But have you thought about how the wellness app can catch people young, kind of orient them towards what's in store for them? Like the popular saying, prevention is better than cure. Have you thought about this? Is the Anyo app doing something around this?
Sure. So, see, actually, people these days experience stress right from school. I was surprised when a school child told me that she's stressed with her exams, and there's FOMO and competition that starts right from school, parental pressure. So, stress is experienced at a much younger age, and the number of exams, the competitive nature of exams, everything just adds to the stress that people go through at a much younger age. We don't prescribe app to children because of course they're not eligible to use a digital product, but we run sessions with children. In fact, we are hopefully launching something with government schools here as a part of our initiative to start at a much younger age, where so it's almost like telling them, open up, talk about your problems. What used to be called moral science earlier and was made very strict can be delivered in a much better format, where you teach people integrity, self respect, self esteem, how do you communicate, how do you feel different things in your body, etc., which is more value system and education, which will help people understand what they're going through. We are making a small start, like I said, with 2 3 schools in Chennai, and we'll see how it takes off.
Great, very noble of. That's a wrap on today's episode of Hireside Chats. And Vamsi, thank you very much. It was a very insightful conversation, and I really wish Anyo, you and your team the best, because you're in a space that is the need of the hour, and you're doing some fantastic work. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us. And until next time, hopefully, we'll get an opportunity to host you in person at our office. We have a young workforce too, and it'll be great if you can come and address them and talk to them about well being.
Sure,
But,
Satish.
it was a very insightful conversation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Satish. I really enjoyed the last half an hour. It was candid, it was fun, and sometimes conversations such as this reinforce purpose, right? So thanks a lot. I look forward to meeting you in person soon.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.